Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Last Conversation. Marcus Taylor never expected his toughest mission would be raising a 17-year-old daughter alone. After 12 years with the Defense Intelligence Agency's Special Activities Division, he'd traded tactical operations for parent-teacher conferences, weapons maintenance for helping Aurora with calculus homework. His wife Lynn had left them 3 years ago, unable to handle the nightmares and silences that followed him home from classified deployments. "Dad, I'm going to Karen Harvey's birthday thing tonight," Aurora said, braiding her dark hair at the kitchen table. She had Lynn's eyes, sharp and green, but Marcus's stubborn chin. "What time are you coming home?" Marcus poured coffee into his thermos, preparing for his night shift at the security firm. The work was mind-numbing compared to his previous life, but it paid the bills and kept him in Haven Creek, Wyoming, population 8,000. Midnight? It's at her lake house. Marcus studied her. At 42, his instincts were still sharp. "Who's driving?" "Karen's brother Terry is picking us up." She rolled her eyes. "Dad, I'll be fine. This town is like living in a snow globe." That's what worried him. Haven Creek was so quiet, people forgot what real danger looked like. "Text me when you get there. When you leave." "Got it." "Yes, sir." She saluted mockingly, kissed his cheek. "Love you." "Love you too, kiddo." That was the last conversation they had. At 2:47 a.m., Marcus's phone rang. Police Chief William Grimes's voice was careful, rehearsed. "Marcus, need you to come down to County Road 7. We found Aurora." The words that followed, ditch, unresponsive, so sorry, became white noise. Marcus was already moving, his training suppressing the scream building in his chest. Save it. Focus. Move. When he arrived at the scene, dawn was breaking over the prairie. His daughter lay in a drainage ditch, her party dress torn, blood matted in her hair. The medical examiner would later confirm blunt force trauma, broken ribs, defensive wounds on her hands. She'd fought. Marcus knelt beside her body, took her cold hand. A detective tried to pull him back, but one look at Marcus's face made the man step away. For 5 minutes, Marcus just held her hand, memorizing every detail. The scar on her wrist from when she was 7 and fell off her bike. The silver ring he'd given her for her 16th birthday. The purple nail polish she'd just painted. Then he stood, and the operator became operational again. "Who found her?" His voice was flat, controlled. Chief Grimes shifted his weight. "Anonymous call around 2 a.m. Caller said they saw something by the roadside. Where's her phone? Hasn't been recovered. What about Karen Harvey? The party? We're conducting interviews. I want to talk to everyone who was there. Now." Grimes put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Marcus, I know this is..." Marcus looked at the hand until Grimes removed it. "I spent 12 years tracking down people who thought they could disappear. Don't patronize me, William." The investigation started that morning, but by afternoon, Marcus already sensed something wrong. Officers were too careful with their words. Grimes kept directing him to grief counseling resources instead of updates. When Marcus went to Karen Harvey's house himself, the girl's parents said she'd been instructed by their attorney not to speak. Attorney? Marcus's jaw tightened. Why does a 16-year-old witness need an attorney? Mr. Harvey wouldn't meet his eyes. "I'm sorry, Marcus. Truly, but we can't help you." That evening, Marcus sat in Aurora's bedroom, her lavender walls covered with concert posters and photos. One photo showed her laughing with friends at the school carnival. In the background, barely visible, was Derek Burgess, the mayor's son, 22 local golden boy who'd gotten a slap on the wrist for 2 DUIs because his father had connections. Marcus had seen Derek around Aurora before, seen how the young man looked at her. Aurora had called him creepy. "He thinks because his dad runs this town, every girl should worship him," she'd said once. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop asking questions. It was an accident. Let her rest in peace." An accident. They were already crafting the narrative. Marcus deleted the text, his face expressionless. But inside, something cold and precise clicked into place. He'd buried enemies in 6 countries across 3 continents. If they wanted to bury his daughter's case, fine. He'd bury them first. Chapter 2. the walls close in. The official police report came back 5 days later. Accidental death due to fall while intoxicated. Aurora's blood alcohol level was listed as 0.15. The report stated she'd wandered from the party, fallen into the ditch, hit her head. Marcus read it 3 times in Chief Grimes's office. She didn't drink. Grimes sighed, looking older than his 58 years. Marcus, I know what you think you knew about your daughter. She was training for cross-country. She didn't drink because it affected her performance. Marcus set down the report carefully. And these injuries aren't consistent with a fall. I've seen enough trauma to know the difference between falling and being beaten. The medical examiner's findings. Can I see the full autopsy report? It's an ongoing. Ongoing what? You just called it an accident. Case closed. Marcus leaned forward. William, we've known each other 10 years. Whatever pressure you're under, whatever someone promised or threatened, I need you to remember what this job actually means. Grimes wouldn't meet his eyes. I'm sorry, Marcus. The investigation is concluded. I suggest you make arrangements for the funeral and seek counseling. Grief can make people see conspiracies where there are none. Marcus stood slowly. Is that a professional observation or a warning? It's advice from one father to another. The funeral was 3 days later. Over 200 people attended, teachers, classmates, neighbors. Notable absences, the Harvey family, anyone from the mayor's social circle. During the service, Marcus noticed a young woman in the back, late 20s, watching him intently. After the burial, she approached. Mr. Taylor? I'm Marcy Kane. I'm a reporter for the Creek Gazette. She had auburn hair and nervous energy. I'd like to talk to you about Aurora's case. It's not a case. It's an accident. Officially, his tone made her wince. Right? An accident. She glanced around, lowered her voice. I've been in this town for years. I know how things work here. Mayor Burgess owns the police budget, half the county judges, and most of the business permits. When his son gets in trouble, it disappears. But this time, she pulled out a manila folder. This time I think you went too far. They met at a diner 40 miles outside Haven Creek. Marcy spread photos across the table. Aurora with friends at the lake house party. Timestamp 10:47 p.m. More photos, darker, blurrier. Aurora trying to leave, Derek Burgess blocking her path. The final image showed Derek's friends Randy Woodward and Austin Donnelly, both college dropouts who did odd jobs for the mayor's construction company, leading Aurora toward parked cars. Where did you get these? Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. A kid at the party. She was scared, sent them anonymously. I've been trying to verify everything before publishing. Marcy looked at him. Mr. Taylor, I think your daughter rejected Derek's advances. I think he got angry. I think his friends helped him handle it. And I think Mayor Burgess made it all go away. Marcus studied each photo, his operator's training cataloging details. You said trying to verify. What's stopping you? My editor killed the story. Said insufficient evidence. Then I got a visit from the mayor's attorney, explaining how defamation lawsuits work. She laughed bitterly. In a town this small, the powerful stay powerful because everyone's afraid. Fear is a tool, Marcus said quietly. It only works when the target wants to live safely. Marcy met his eyes. You don't seem afraid. I spent 12 years in places where powerful men thought they were untouchable. I learned a useful truth. He finished his coffee. Everyone has something to lose. You just have to find it. Over the next week, Marcus conducted his own investigation. He'd hung up his operational life years ago, but the skills remained. Surveillance, intelligence gathering, pattern analysis. He rented a storage unit outside town, set up a command center with photos, timelines, and evidence boards. From Aurora's recovered laptop, police had returned it since the case was closed. He found disturbing messages. Derek had been messaging her for months, asking her out, getting rejected, getting angry. The final message, sent the night of the party. You think you're too good for me? Tonight, you're going to learn respect. Marcus photographed everything. He also learned about Derek Burgess. 22 years old, expelled from 3 colleges for behavioral issues, the polite term for assaults that daddy's money settled quietly. He worked for his father's construction firm in name only, spent most days drinking at the country club. Entitled, violent, protected. Randy Woodward and Austin Donnelly were easier to profile. Both had criminal records from other counties: assault, vandalism, petty theft. They'd moved to Haven Creek 2 years ago, started working for Burgess Construction. Local scuttlebutt suggested they were Mayor Burgess's fixers, handling problems the legal way couldn't. Marcus also discovered something interesting. The anonymous tip that led police to Aurora's body had come from a burner phone purchased at a gas station in Haven Creek. Security footage from that night showed Austin Donnelly buying the phone, then making a call from a payphone 10 miles away. They'd wanted her found. Probably thought the accident story would hold. On the 10th day after Aurora's death, Marcus received a visitor. Jim Ray, a detective with the Haven Creek PD, stood on his porch looking uncomfortable. "Can I come in?" Marcus studied him. Ray was younger, maybe 35, with an honest face. In Marcus's experience, honest faces in corrupt departments were either incredibly naive or incredibly brave. Why? Because what happened to your daughter is wrong. Because the official story is bullshit. And because I'm probably about to lose my job. Ray pulled out a flash drive. "This is everything I could copy before Grimes locked down the files. Witness statements that got lost. Photos that didn't make the report. Aurora's phone records. We actually did recover her phone. It was in Derek's truck. All of it points to murder, and all of it got buried." Marcus took the drive. "Why are you doing this?" "I have a daughter too. She's 8. I want her to grow up in a world where justice actually means something." Jim Ray met his eyes. "I know what you used to do, Taylor. Half the department does. We all figured if anyone was going to push back, it'd be you. I just want you to know some of us are rooting for you." After Ray left, Marcus spent the night reviewing the files. Every piece confirmed what he knew. Aurora had been murdered. She fought back hard enough that Derek had visible scratches on his face the next day, explained as hiking accident. Randy and Austin's clothes had been burned in an oil drum behind Burgess Construction's equipment yard. The mayor had personally visited Chief Grimes the morning after Aurora's death, stayed in his office for 2 hours. Marcus sat in his daughter's room as dawn broke. On her desk was the last essay she'd written for English class about moral courage. The final line read, "Doing the right thing isn't about whether you'll be rewarded. It's about whether you can live with yourself if you don't." "I hear you, baby girl," Marcus whispered. "I hear you." He made a decision. The law had failed. The system had been corrupted. But Marcus Taylor hadn't spent 12 years operating in shadows to come home and be beaten by small-town corruption. They wanted to bury the case. He'd bury them. But unlike Aurora, there wouldn't be a funeral. Chapter 3. The Operator Returns. Marcus began with reconnaissance. For 2 weeks, he became invisible. The grieving father who'd accepted the official story, who spent his days at the cemetery and his nights drinking alone. Let them think he'd broken. In reality, he was mapping targets. Derek Burgess lived in a downtown loft his father owned, partied 3 nights a week at the Ace of Clubs, a bar the mayor's construction company had renovated at a discount to the owner. Randy Woodward lived in a trailer park on the east side. Austin Donnelly rented a room above the auto shop where he worked part-time. Mayor Dennis Burgess occupied a mansion on Hill Ridge with his wife Nancy, who everyone knew spent more time at her sister's place than home. Chief William Grimes had a lake cabin he visited weekends. His marriage was rocky. Officers gossiped about his affair with a secretary from City Hall. Marcus documented routines, habits, weaknesses. He also began acquiring tools. His service weapons were long gone, properly decommissioned. But America had plenty of guns if you knew where to look, and Marcus knew. He drove to 3 different states, made 5 different purchases under legal limits, all clean. Untraceable burner phones. A used van purchased cash from a private seller, different plates. Equipment from camping stores, hardware stores, medical supply shops. Nothing suspicious individually, everything devastating collectively. In his storage unit command center, he built dossiers on each target. Derek was the primary, the one who'd killed Aurora. But Randy and Austin had helped. The mayor had orchestrated the cover-up. Grimes had executed it. They were all guilty. They'd all pay. The question was how. Marcus had killed before, on government orders, in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. He could make each target disappear efficiently, permanently. But that wasn't justice. That was just murder. Aurora deserved better than her father, becoming the monster to fight monsters. No, Marcus needed to be smarter. These men had power because of their positions, their secrets, their protected status. Strip those away, expose them, and they'd destroy themselves. He just needed leverage. On day 16, opportunity presented itself. Marcy Kane called him, excited and frightened. "I found something. Can you meet me?" They met at the same diner. Marcy spread out bank statements, construction permits, and invoices. "I've been investigating Mayor Burgess's construction company for a separate story. Look at these permits, approved within days when normal applications take months. And these invoices to the county for road work? The actual work was done by subcontractors at half the listed price. The difference went somewhere." Marcus studied the documents. "How'd you get these?" "A county clerk who's sick of the corruption. She's retiring next month, doesn't care anymore." Marcy tapped a highlighted section. "There's more. The mayor's been using his construction crews to build properties off books. Rumor is he's got a warehouse on County Road 14 that doesn't appear in any records. What's he doing with an unrecorded warehouse? That's what I want to find out." That night, Marcus conducted surveillance on the warehouse. It was isolated, surrounded by farmland, accessed by a single gravel road. Security was minimal, just a padlock and a motion sensor light. At 11 p.m., a truck pulled up. Randy Woodward and Austin Donnelly unloaded wooden crates, working quickly, nervously. Marcus photographed everything from a concealed position half a mile away, using night vision optics he'd borrowed from his old DIA contacts who owed him favors. After they left, Marcus approached. The padlock was simple. Inside, he found what made everything click into place. Stolen construction equipment from county projects, repackaged supplies being sold on the black market, and, most damning, a small meth lab operation. Not huge, but enough to supply Haven Creek's growing addiction problem. The mayor wasn't just corrupt. He was a criminal, and his son's friends were enforcers who handled the dirty work. Marcus photographed evidence, then noticed something else, a file cabinet. Inside were ledgers documenting sales, payments, bribes to county officials. Years of criminal activity, meticulously recorded. Apparently, even criminals kept receipts. But in the bottom drawer, Marcus found something that made his blood freeze. Aurora's phone. Not a copy. The actual device. Her purple case with the constellation stickers. They'd kept it as insurance, probably. Proof they could destroy if needed. Marcus powered it on. Messages, photos, everything from that night. A video, recorded by accident when Aurora's phone was in her pocket, audio capturing Derek's slurred voice. "You think you're better than me? My father owns this town. I own you." Then sounds of struggle. Aurora screaming. Impact. Silence. Marcus saved everything to 3 separate drives, then left the phone exactly where he'd found it. Now he had what he needed. Evidence of murder. Evidence of criminal enterprise. 2 separate pressure points. He returned to his storage unit, spread out the intelligence. The next phase required precision. One wrong move, and the mayor would destroy evidence, scatter accomplices, lawyer up impenetrably. Marcus needed them scared, reactive, making mistakes. He needed them to feel what Aurora felt that night. Powerless, hunted, terrified. A quote from his old training instructor surfaced: "The best operations aren't about overwhelming force. They're about making your enemy destroy themselves while thinking they're winning." Marcus began writing his operational plan. 3 primary targets: Derek, the murderer; the mayor, the corrupter; Grimes, the enabler. Secondary targets: Randy and Austin, the accomplices. Phase 1: isolate and eliminate support structures. Phase 2: apply pressure, create paranoia. Phase 3: spring the trap, force confession, ensure justice. No torture, no summary execution. This will be legal, mostly, or at least justifiable to the parts of law enforcement not corrupted by Burgess money. Marcus looked at Aurora's photo on his evidence board. "I won't dishonor your memory by becoming them," he said quietly, "but I'll make sure they answer for what they did." He spent the next 3 days refining the plan. Contingencies for every variable. Backup strategies. Exit protocols. It was the most important mission of his life, and failure wasn't an option. On day 23 after Aurora's death, Marcus made his first move. He sent an anonymous message to the State Police Criminal Investigation Division. Coordinates for the warehouse, photos of the meth lab, copies of the ledgers. But he held back the murder evidence. Not yet. That was his ace. Within hours, state police raided the warehouse. Mayor Burgess's operation collapsed. News trucks descended on Haven Creek. The mayor went on camera, shocked, promising full cooperation, claiming he'd been betrayed by employees. Marcus watched from his living room, allowed himself the smallest smile. Phase 1 had begun, and the bodies weren't even buried yet. Chapter 4. Pressure and cracks. The state police raid sent Haven Creek into chaos. Within 24 hours, Randy Woodward and Austin Donnelly were arrested at the warehouse, charged with manufacturing and distribution. They immediately lawyered up, refusing to talk. The mayor expressed public outrage, shocked that his employees had used company property for criminal enterprise. Marcus knew the play. Burgess would sacrifice his pawns, protect Derek, and weather the storm. The drug operation would be blamed on low-level employees. The corruption investigation would get stalled in legal procedures. Men like Dennis Burgess had survived worse. But Marcus wasn't done applying pressure. On day 26, Randy Woodward received a visitor in county jail. Marcus had arranged it through a paralegal contact who owed him a favor, listed as Woodward's religious counselor. The guard left them alone in the consultation room. "I don't know you," Randy said, suspicious. He was 28, all nervous energy and prison tattoos. "No, but I know you." Marcus placed a photo on the table. Aurora, smiling at last year's carnival. "I know you helped Derek Burgess murder this girl. I know you helped dump her body. I know you made the anonymous call because Derek panicked about leaving evidence." Randy's face went pale. "I got nothing to say without my lawyer. Your lawyer is being paid by Mayor Burgess. Your lawyer's job is to make sure you take the fall for the drug charges while protecting Derek." Marcus leaned forward. "See, the mayor needs someone to blame for the warehouse operation. Can't be him. He's got plausible deniability. Can't be Derek. He's family. But you and Austin? You're expendable. The mayor said he'd handle. The mayor is covering his ass. You're looking at 15 years minimum on the drug charges. And when the murder evidence surfaces, and it will, you'll be looking at life." Marcus let that sink in. "Unless you're smart." Randy's leg bounced frantically. "What do you want?" "The truth. On record. What happened to my daughter?" "I can't. They'll kill me." "They're already killing you." Slowly, through the legal system, Marcus placed another photo. Randy's mother, living in a care facility in Montana, suffering from early-onset dementia. "I know your mom's care is expensive. I know you send money every month. I know the mayor promised to keep paying if you kept quiet. How long do you think that promise lasts once you're convicted?" Randy's hand shook. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Marcus slid across a document. A check made out to Randy's mother's facility, covering 6 months of care, signed by Marcus Taylor. "I take care of people who help me. I destroy people who don't. The mayor taught me that. Choose wisely." Marcus left the room. He didn't need Randy's cooperation yet, just his doubt. Seeds planted would grow in the dark confines of a jail cell. The next target was Chief Grimes. On day 28, Grimes received a package at his lake cabin. Inside, photos of him with Darlene Dodson, the city hall secretary, taken at a motel in the neighboring county. Dates, times, credit card receipts. Everything his wife would need in a divorce that would cost him half his pension. The attached note read, "Imagine what else I have. Imagine what I'll release next. We need to talk. Come to Aurora's grave, midnight alone." Grimes showed up at 11:45 p.m., gun drawn, scanning for threats. Marcus stepped from behind a monument, hands visible. "Easy, William. I'm not here to hurt you. You're blackmailing a police chief. I'm giving a corrupt police chief a chance to do the right thing before I destroy his life." Marcus gestured to Aurora's grave. "You buried my daughter's murder because the mayor ordered you to. You falsified reports. You suppressed evidence. You're an accomplice to murder." Grimes looked old, defeated. You don't understand the pressure. I understand you had a choice. You chose wrong. Marcus pulled out a flash drive. This contains every piece of evidence proving Aurora was murdered. Derek's messages, witness testimony, the video from her phone, DNA evidence from her defensive wounds matching Derek, Randy, and Austin. Everything. Grimes stared at the drive. Where did you? Doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. I can give this to state police, the FBI, the media. Your career ends. Your marriage ends. You might avoid prison if you cooperate. Might. Or you remember what being a cop actually means. You remember justice. You help me build a case that sticks. Marcus pocketed the drive. I'm not asking you to risk everything. I'm asking you to do your job. Finally, Grimes was silent for a long moment, staring at Aurora's grave. I have a daughter too, he said quietly. Rachel. She's 23. Every time I see her, I think about what I did to yours. It's eating me alive. Good. Channel that into something useful. The mayor has too much power. Even with evidence, Hill. The mayor is about to have bigger problems. Marcus turned to leave. I'll contact you in 48 hours. Decide if you're going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. There's no middle ground anymore. As Marcus walked away, Grimes called out, Taylor, I'm sorry. Truly. Marcus didn't turn around. Sorry doesn't bring her back. The next day, Mayor Dennis Burgess held a press conference, announcing his full cooperation with state investigators, proclaiming his innocence, and praising law enforcement. He looked confident, powerful, untouchable. That night, someone firebombed his campaign headquarters. Marcus watched the news from his storage unit, frowning. He hadn't ordered that. The fire was sloppy, angry, uncontrolled. Not his style. Someone else was moving pieces on the board. He got his answer when Marcy Kane called, frantic. Marcus, we need to meet. Now, something's happening. They met in a parking lot outside town. Marcy looked terrified. I got a warning tonight. Someone broke into my apartment. Trashed it. Left a note. Stop investigating or you're next. Marcus, they know I've been helping you. Who's that? I think. She pulled out her phone, showed him a photo she'd taken from a distance. I've been staking out Derek Burgess. Tonight, he met with someone. Look, the photo showed Derek talking to a man Marcus didn't recognize. Mid-30s, military bearing, professional. Not local. Who is that? I did facial recognition through a friend at the state. His name is Milton Mercado. Ex-Marines. Dishonorable discharge for excessive force. Now he works private security for wealthy clients who need problems solved. Marcy's voice shook. Marcus, I think the mayor hired muscle. I think they're cleaning up loose ends. Marcus's mind raced. The firebombing made sense now. False flag operation to make investigators think they were dealing with random vandals, not organized cover-up. The threat to Marcy was a message. Stop digging. You need to leave town. Tonight. I'm not running. This isn't negotiable. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. These aren't politicians playing power games anymore. This is a professional cleaner. You stay, you die. Go to your sisters in Colorado. Disappear for 2 weeks. I'll call when it's safe. Marcy looked at him, understanding. You're going after them. I'm ending this. After she left, Marcus returned to his command center, reassessing. Milton Mercado changed the equation. A professional operator meant the mayor was escalating, feeling threatened. Good. Threatened men made mistakes, but also meant Marcus needed to move faster. He called Jim Ray, the honest detective. I need everything you have on Derek Burgess's current location and security. And I need it tonight. What are you planning? Justice. You in or out? A pause. Then, give me an hour. Marcus smiled coldly. Phase 2 was accelerating. Time to make the mayor's son answer for what he'd done. Chapter 5, The Confession. Jim Ray delivered blueprints of Derek Burgess's loft, security camera positions, and a schedule. Derek was throwing a party Friday night, 3 days away. Lots of witnesses, lots of noise, lots of chaos. Perfect cover. But Marcus had a better idea. On day 31, he visited Derek's regular hangout, the Ace of Clubs. Marcus wore a baseball cap, stayed in shadows, observed. Derek was holding court at a VIP table with college kids and hangers-on, drinking expensive whiskey playing the untouchable prince. The scratches on his face from Aurora's fight had healed. He looked happy. Marcus left before his control slipped. That night, he broke into Derek's loft while the young man was at the bar. No alarms. Derek felt too safe. Marcus placed micro cameras in 3 locations, audio bugs in 2 more, then left. Now he could monitor Derek's movements, conversations, visitors. He also placed a gift, Aurora's silver ring, the one Marcus had given her, left on Derek's nightstand. A message. I can get to you anytime. Derek found it the next morning. Marcus watched via camera as the young man's face went white. Derek grabbed his phone, called his father, voice panicked. Someone was in my apartment. They left, Dad, they know. What do I do? The mayor's response was too quiet to hear, but Derek's reaction was clear. Fear. Good. Over the next 48 hours, Marcus escalated. He sent Derek photos of himself from the night of the party, photos that Derek didn't know existed, taken by partygoers in the background. He sent screenshots of the deleted messages to Aurora. He sent a video of Derek and his friends leaving the party with Aurora, time-stamped. Each message came from a different, untraceable number. Each one a reminder. Someone knows. Someone is watching. Someone is coming. Derek stopped going out, started drinking heavily at home, made increasingly frantic calls to his father, who kept telling him to stay calm, stay quiet, let the lawyer handle everything. But Marcus wasn't interested in lawyers. On day 34, he made his move. Milton Mercado, the hired security, had been watching Derek's building. Marcus spotted him during morning surveillance. Professional, careful, but not invisible. At 2 a.m., Marcus approached from the blind spot Mercado's position created, moved silently through techniques learned in a dozen Black Ops insertions. Mercado never saw him coming. Marcus used a rear naked chokehold. No permanent damage, just unconsciousness. He zip-tied the man, took his phone and weapon, left him in a supply closet with a note. Tell the mayor he's hiring amateurs. Then Marcus entered Derek's loft. The young man was passed out drunk on his couch, TV playing an old movie. Marcus disabled the cameras he'd planted. No need for this to be recorded. Then woke Derek with a glass of cold water to the face. Derek sputtered awake, saw Marcus standing over him. What the who? Aurora Taylor's father. Marcus's voice was cold, controlled. You remember her? The girl you murdered. Derek scrambled backward. I didn't. It was an accident. She fell. Wrong answer. Marcus pulled out his phone, played the audio from Aurora's phone. Derek's voice, slurred and angry. You think you're better than me? Aurora's scream. Sounds of impact. Derek's face crumbled. Please, I was drunk. Didn't mean. It got out of control. You beat my daughter to death because she rejected you. Then you and your friends dumped her body like trash. Marcus stepped closer. Your father buried the investigation. May it all go away. You thought you'd get away with it. I'm sorry, God. I'm so sorry. Derek was crying now, snot and tears mixing. I was messed up. I didn't please. I'll do anything. Anything. Marcus grabbed him by the collar, hauled him up. Then you're going to confess. Everything. On camera. With details only the killer would know. My father will. Your father can't protect you anymore. I have evidence that puts you at the scene. I have video. I have witnesses ready to talk. The only question is whether you face this like a man or a coward. Derek sobbed. He'll kill me. My dad, he'll. Your father's going to prison. The state police have his entire operation. The drugs, the corruption, the bribes. He's done. Marcus showed him photos of the warehouse raid. You cooperate. Maybe you get manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. Maybe you see daylight again before you're 50. You stay quiet. You go down with him for life. Derek stared at the photos, the reality sinking in. His father wasn't invincible. The empire was crumbling. Randy and Austin already flipped. Marcus lied smoothly. They gave full statements. You're the last holdout, the one taking all the blame. That broke him. Those bastards, they're the ones who said to, okay, I'll confess. Just please give me protection. If my dad finds out, you'll have protection. Federal witness protection if necessary. Marcus pulled out a camera, set up. Start from the beginning. The night of the party. Everything you did. Everything you saw. For the next 40 minutes, Derek Burgess confessed. He described harassing Aurora for months, getting angry when she rejected him, drinking heavily at the party, confronting her when she tried to leave, things escalating when she slapped him, told him he was pathetic. Randy and Austin helped me subdue her. We were just going to scare her, you know? Teach her respect. But she fought back so hard. She was screaming. I hit her to make her quiet. She fell, hit her head on the car bumper. There was blood. Marcus's hands clenched, but his face remained neutral. Continue. She wasn't moving. We panicked. Austin said we should call 911, but Randy said if we called, we'd all go to prison. So my dad could fix it. So we put her in the truck, drove her to County Road 7, left her in the ditch. And then Austin made the anonymous call the next morning. Said if she was found too quick, it'd look suspicious. My dad talked to the police chief, made sure the autopsy said accident, paid off the medical examiner, made it all go away. Derek looked at the camera, hollow. I didn't mean to kill her. I swear. It just happened. Marcus stopped the recording. He had what he needed. A full confession, details matching the evidence, admission of the cover-up. This would sink the mayor, convict the son, and vindicate Aurora. But looking at Derek, weak, pathetic, destroyed, Marcus felt no satisfaction. This boy had killed his daughter over wounded pride, had thrown away her future, her dreams, her life because his ego couldn't handle rejection. I should kill you, Marcus said quietly. I could. Make it look like suicide. Depression over the state investigation. No one would question it. Derek whimpered. But that would dishonor my daughter's memory. She believed in justice, real justice. So you're going to get your day in court. Marcus grabbed the camera. Then you're going to spend the rest of your life in a cage, knowing that the girl you murdered was worth 100 of you. He left Derek sobbing on the floor. Outside, Milton Mercado was still unconscious. Marcus left him there. The man would wake eventually, humiliated but alive. At 6 a.m., Marcus delivered the confession video to Jim Ray, along with copies sent to the state police, the FBI, and 3 separate media outlets. No way to suppress it now. No way to make it disappear. By noon, every news station in Wyoming was broadcasting Derek Burgess's confession. By 3 p.m., state police had arrested Derek, Randy, and Austin. By 6 p.m., federal marshals had arrested Mayor Dennis Burgess on corruption charges, with murder conspiracy charges pending. Chief Grimes resigned, cut a deal to testify in exchange for reduced charges. Haven Creek exploded in chaos and vindication. The empire built on corruption and covered up crimes collapsed in less than 12 hours. Marcus sat in Aurora's room that night, watching the news coverage. His phone rang constantly. Reporters, lawyers, victim advocacy groups. He ignored them all. Only one call mattered. Detective Jim Ray. It's done, Marcus. They're all in custody. The federal prosecutor says it's airtight. Derek's lawyer already filed for a plea deal. What's he offering? 20 years. Eligible for parole in 15. In exchange for testimony against his father and the others. Marcus closed his eyes. Not enough. Would never be enough. But it was something. The prosecutor wants to meet with you, Jim continued. Want your statement, your evidence. They're calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm a father who lost his daughter. You got justice when everyone else gave up. That counts for something. After hanging up, Marcus stood at Aurora's bookshelf, touched the spines of her favorite novels. She'd never read another book, never go to college, never fall in love, travel the world, have children. All of it stolen by an entitled boy who couldn't accept the word no. I got them, baby girl, Marcus whispered. Every single one. But as he turned out the light, he knew the real work was just beginning. Derek, Randy, Austin, the mayor, they'd face trial. They'd go to prison. But closure? Peace. That would take longer. Maybe forever. Chapter 6. The Empire Strikes Back. Marcus underestimated Dennis Burgess's reach. The mayor was behind bars, but his power structure remained intact. On day 37, Marcus received a phone call from an unlisted number. The voice was smooth, professional. Mr. Taylor, my name is Tomas Madden. I represent Mayor Burgess. He'd like to discuss a settlement. No settlement. Your client is going to prison. Perhaps. But trials are unpredictable. Evidence gets excluded. Witnesses recant. Juries sympathize with defendants who express remorse. Madden's tone never wavered. Mayor Burgess is prepared to offer you $2 million in exchange for a statement supporting a plea agreement. Your daughter's case would be acknowledged, Derek would serve time, but the mayor would avoid the most serious charges. Marcus laughed bitterly. You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you financial security and guaranteed conviction. Reject it, and we fight every charge. Discovery will expose every detail of your daughter's final moments to public scrutiny. Cross-examination will paint her as a troubled teenager who made poor choices. It will be brutal, prolonged, painful. Threaten me again, and You'll what? You've already played your hand, Mr. Taylor. The evidence is public. You have nothing left to leverage. Meanwhile, Mayor Burgess has resources you can't imagine. Think carefully about whether you want to fight this battle for years. The call disconnected. Marcus sat in his kitchen, anger and frustration warring with pragmatism. Madden was right. Trials were uncertain. Even with Derek's confession, skilled attorneys could muddy the waters. The mayor had money for the best defense team in the country. But $2 million felt like blood money, like selling Aurora's justice. His phone rang again. Jim Ray. Marcus, we have a problem. Let me guess. The mayor's lawyers are filing motions. Worse, Randy Woodward recanted his confession. Says you coerced him, threatened his mother, manufactured evidence. His attorney claims the entire case is fruit of the poison tree. Illegal surveillance, unlawful interrogation, vigilante justice. Marcus's stomach dropped. What about Austin? Lawyered up, refusing to talk. And get this. The video from Aurora's phone mysteriously got corrupted in evidence storage. The tech guys say it's unrecoverable. That's impossible. I had backups, which you obtained through illegal search of the mayor's warehouse. His attorneys are arguing every piece of evidence you gathered is inadmissible. They're claiming you're a rogue vigilante who contaminated the investigation. Marcus closed his eyes. He'd been so focused on gathering evidence that he'd violated chain of custody, legal procedure, warrant requirements. In his operational mindset, results mattered more than process. But this wasn't a black ops mission. This was American criminal court, and he'd given them ammunition. What about Derek's confession? Still solid. That happened in his own home, voluntary statement. But without the phone video, without Randy's testimony, without legally obtained evidence from the warehouse, the prosecution's case is shaky. The federal prosecutor is worried. After the call, Marcus sat in silence. He'd underestimated how thoroughly Burgess's lawyers would attack. They weren't just defending their clients. They were putting Marcus on trial. The media picked up the narrative. Conservative outlets started running stories. Vigilante father or rogue operative? They painted Marcus as an unstable ex-government agent who'd manufactured a conspiracy to justify revenge. Aurora's character was dissected. Her grades, mostly A's, but some B's. Her social life, normal teenager. Her rejection of Derek, was she leading him on? It was character assassination by 1,000 cuts. On day 40, Marcus received a visitor, Nancy Burgess, the mayor's wife. She stood on his porch, well-dressed but haggard. May I come in? Marcus considered refusing, but curiosity won. They sat in his living room, awkward silence stretching. I'm not here to defend my husband, Nancy said finally. Dennis made his choices. He'll pay for them. But Derek, her voice broke. He's my son. I know what he did was monstrous. I know your daughter deserves justice. But he's still my boy, the only one I have. Aurora was my only one, too. Nancy nodded, tears streaming. Understand. I do. That's why I'm here to offer you something the lawyers can't. The truth. Dennis has been controlling our family for 20 years. Derek grew up watching his father manipulate, bully, and cheat his way through life. He learned that power means never facing consequences. That's on Dennis. On me for allowing it. What do you want? I want you to know that if you pursue the death penalty for Derek, I won't fight it. I'll testify about the environment he grew up in, the corruption, everything. But I'm asking you, parent to parent, to consider that life in prison might be justice enough. He'll be 42 before parole even becomes a possibility. He'll lose his entire youth to punishment. Marcus looked at her. Your son took my daughter's entire life. She was 17. She had dreams, college, career, family. She wanted to be a marine biologist. Did you know that? She loved the ocean, even though we're landlocked. She had this whole plan to move to California, study at Scripps, save endangered species. That's all gone. Forever. Because your son couldn't handle rejection. I know, and I'll live with that guilt until I die. But please, don't kill him. Let him live with his guilt too. After she left, Marcus sat with her request. The death penalty was on the table for first-degree murder. Wyoming still executed criminals. Derek could face lethal injection. Part of Marcus wanted that. Wanted symmetry. Wanted the ultimate punishment. But another part, the part Aurora would recognize, hesitated. His daughter had believed in rehabilitation, second chances, the complexity of justice. She'd written papers arguing against the death penalty, citing studies on wrongful convictions and the brutality of state execution. Would she want her killer to die? Or would she want him to spend decades contemplating what he destroyed? Marcus didn't know, and not knowing tortured him. On day 43, the legal situation deteriorated further. Judge Harvey Kent, one of Burgess's golf buddies, got assigned to the preliminary hearings. Kent ruled that most of Marcus's evidence was inadmissible without proper warrants. The case was collapsing. Jim Ray called dejected. The prosecutor is talking plea deals. Maybe 10 years for Derek, 5 for Randy and Austin. Suspended sentence for the mayor in exchange for resigning and paying restitution. No, absolutely not. Marcus, we're out of options. The evidence. Then we find new evidence. Evidence they can't exclude. Ow! Marcus thought about it. Everything he gathered was contaminated by how he'd obtained it. But there was one source they couldn't touch. Public record. The mayor's construction company. Every project, every contract, every permit. It's all public record. If we can prove systematic corruption, bribery, bid rigging, embezzlement, it strengthens the cover-up motive. Shows this wasn't isolated to Aurora's case. That's thousands of documents. Would take months to analyze. Then we get help. Marcy Kane is an investigative reporter. She's been working this angle already. The state has forensic accountants. We build a corruption case so airtight that the murder cover-up becomes part of a larger criminal enterprise conspiracy. That's actually brilliant. RICO statutes. Racketeering influenced corrupt organization. If we can prove the mayor ran a criminal enterprise, then Aurora's murder and the cover-up become predicate acts. Marcus smiled grimly. Exactly. We go bigger. Force them to defend on multiple fronts. Overwhelm their resources. Over the next week, Marcus coordinated with Marcy, Jim, and a state forensic accountant named Sean Barnett, who'd been investigating Burgess Construction independently. They built a case spanning 15 years, fraudulent billing, kickbacks to county officials, tax evasion, money laundering through shell companies. The drug operation at the warehouse was just one piece of a massive criminal empire. As they dug deeper, they found connections that stunned even Marcus. Burgess's construction company had built half of Haven Creek's infrastructure, always at inflated prices, always approved without competitive bidding. The mayor had funneled millions in taxpayer money into his own pockets. On day 51, the federal prosecutor received their findings. 2 days later, the grand jury issued new indictments. RICO conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, obstruction of justice. 18 felony counts against Mayor Dennis Burgess. The plea deal talks collapsed. The judge recused himself after pressure from the state attorney general. A new judge from out of county was assigned. The Burgess legal team scrambled, but the tide had turned. Evidence of financial crimes was harder to exclude. It came from official sources, subpoenaed records, expert analysis. No vigilante taint. Marcus watched the preliminary hearings on day 56. The defense attorneys looked less confident. The prosecutors were building momentum. But in the gallery, Marcus noticed something troubling. Milton Mercado, the hired security, watching him with cold calculation. After the hearing, Mercado approached. "Walk with me." "I don't think so. I'm not here to threaten you." "Quite the opposite." Mercado gestured to a coffee shop across the street. 5 minutes. Public place. They sat at an outdoor table. Mercado ordered black coffee, waited until the server left. "I respect what you're doing," he said. "Professional to professional. You outmaneuvered everyone, myself included. That zip tie night? Embarrassing. I underestimated you. What do you want?" "To give you a warning. The mayor knows he's going down, but he's got one last play, making sure you go down with him. He's hired a separate legal team focused solely on prosecuting you for your illegal evidence gathering, breaking and entering, unlawful surveillance, coercion, vigilante justice. They're building a case." Marcus kept his expression neutral. "Let them try. They will, and they'll win. You broke dozens of laws. Doesn't matter that your motives were pure. You'll be convicted." Mercado leaned forward. "Unless you accept immunity in exchange for testimony. The prosecutor has offered it. Take the deal, Marcus. Testify, put the mayor away, and walk free." "Why are you telling me this?" "You work for Burgess." "Worked. Past tense. I've been retained by Nancy Burgess now. She wants her husband to pay. She wants her son to face consequences. But she doesn't want you destroyed in the process. She thinks Aurora would have wanted better." Marcus studied the man, looking for deception. Found only professional honesty. "Tell Mrs. Burgess I'll consider it." Mercado nodded, stood. "One more thing. The mayor has evidence of your Black Ops career. Classified operations, questionable legality. He's threatening to expose it all if you don't back down. Destroy your reputation. Possibly trigger federal investigations." Marcus smiled coldly. "Everything I did was authorized and classified. Let him try to expose it. He'll be the one facing federal charges for disclosing state secrets." "Fair point." Mercado extended his hand. "For what it's worth, I hope you win. Your daughter deserved better than what this town gave her." Marcus shook his hand, watched him leave. That night, lying in bed, Marcus weighed his options. Immunity meant safety, but felt like surrender. Fighting the charges meant risk, but preserved his integrity. What would Aurora want? The answer came from memory, his daughter at 14, arguing about a cheating scandal at school. "Dad, sometimes winning isn't about proving you're right. It's about making sure the bad guys lose." Marcus made his decision. He'd take the immunity, testify, and make sure Dennis Burgess spent the rest of his life in federal prison. Aurora's justice was more important than his pride. Chapter 7. The Trial. The trial began on day 73. Commonwealth of Wyoming versus Dennis Burgess, Derek Burgess, Randy Woodward, and Austin Donnelly. For defendants, 8 attorneys, 1 judge, and a jury of 12 citizens who'd somehow never heard of the case, brought in from 3 counties over. Marcus sat in the gallery every day, front row, eye contact with every defendant. Derek couldn't look at him. Randy and Austin stared at their hands. But Mayor Dennis Burgess met Marcus's eyes with cold hatred, a silent promise. "You may have won the battle, but this isn't over." The prosecution opened with a RICO case. 14 years of systematic corruption, presented through charts, documents, testimony from county officials who'd taken bribes. The jury saw the scope of Burgess's criminal enterprise, a spiderweb of graft that touched every aspect of Haven Creek's government. Then they pivoted to Aurora's murder. The lead prosecutor, a federal attorney named Robert Doherty, was methodical and devastating. He presented Derek's confession video, frame by frame. Even though the audio from Aurora's phone was inadmissible, Derek's own words painted the picture. Harassment, confrontation, violence, cover-up. Randy Woodward's original statement was introduced before his recantation. The prosecution argued the recantation was coerced by Burgess attorneys, not Marcus's original interview. Medical examiner testimony destroyed the accidental fall narrative. Aurora's injuries were consistent with being struck multiple times. The original autopsy had been falsified. Chief Grimes testified as part of his cooperation agreement, detailing how the mayor had pressured him to bury the investigation. Phone records showed 17 calls between Burgess and Grimes in the 24 hours after Aurora's death. The most damning evidence came from digital forensics. Derek's deleted messages to Aurora were recovered. Months of escalating harassment, threats, obsession. The final message, sent an hour before she died: "You're going to regret embarrassing me in front of everyone." On day 4 of testimony, the prosecution called Marcus to the stand. Prosecutor Doherty walked him through his background: DIA service, honorable discharge, settling in Haven Creek. Aurora's childhood, her dreams, their relationship. The jury saw photos. Marcus and Aurora at her first day of school, her volleyball games, her 17th birthday. Then the night of her death. Marcus described the call, arriving at the scene, holding his daughter's hand. His voice never wavered, but tears ran down his face. In the jury box, 3 jurors cried openly. Cross-examination was brutal. Tomas Madden, Derek's attorney, attacked Marcus's credibility. "Mr. Taylor, you're trained in interrogation techniques, correct?" "Yes." "Including coercive techniques designed to extract confessions?" "Interrogation techniques used on enemy combatants in war zones, not American citizens." "But you used them on Randy Woodward, didn't you? Threatened his mother's care, manipulated his vulnerabilities?" "I offered him a choice between protecting a murderer and protecting his mother. He made his choice. You broke into my client's apartment, terrorized him, coerced a confession without an attorney present. I confronted a murderer with evidence of his crime. He chose to confess. After you psychologically tortured him for days." Marcus leaned forward. "Your client tortured my daughter to death. I gave him a chance to do the right thing. He took it. That's more mercy than he showed, Aurora." The judge sustained the objection, but the jury heard it. Madden switched tactics. "You've killed people, haven't you, Mr. Taylor? In your government service?" "I serve my country in classified operations. I'm not at liberty to discuss." "You're a trained killer. You've admitted to breaking into homes, conducting surveillance, using coercion. You're a vigilante who took the law into his own hands. I'm a father who got justice when the system failed, because your client's father paid to make a murder disappear." The exchanges went on for 3 hours. Madden tried every angle, attacking Marcus's methods, his credibility, his mental state. But Marcus never broke. He'd faced hostile interrogation in foreign prisons. A courtroom was nothing. On day 8, the defense called their witnesses. Character witnesses for Derek, teachers who praised his kindness, friends who described him as misunderstood. Nancy Burgess declined to testify for her son, a devastating blow. The mayor took the stand in his own defense, a calculated risk. He claimed ignorance of the warehouse operation, blamed it on Randy and Austin, denied any knowledge of Aurora's murder until after the fact, claimed his calls to Chief Grimes were about unrelated city business. The prosecutor destroyed him. Phone records showed he'd called Grimes 17 times, the medical examiner 12 times, and his attorney 43 times, all within 48 hours of Aurora's death. If he knew nothing, why the frantic communications? Financial records showed the mayor had personally paid for Derek's attorneys, Randy's mother's care, and Austin's legal defense. Hush money disguised as charity. Most damning, a recorded conversation from a jail between the mayor and Derek, caught on prison monitoring. The mayor told his son, "Keep your mouth shut. This all goes away if you just stay quiet. I'll handle everything like I always do." Consciousness of guilt, obstruction of justice. Right there on tape. On day 11, closing arguments began. The defense argued reasonable doubt. Maybe Derek fought with Aurora, but murder required intent. Maybe the mayor was corrupt, but the prosecution hadn't proven he ordered a cover-up. Maybe the evidence was tainted by Marcus's vigilante crusade. But Prosecutor Doherty's closing was a masterpiece. He showed Aurora's photo, smiling, 17, full of life. Then crime scene photos, broken, dead, discarded. He walked the jury through the evidence, piece by piece, building an inescapable conclusion. "This case is about power," Doherty said. "The power of wealth to corrupt justice. The power of privilege to escape consequences. The power of a father who thought his money could bury his son's crime along with an innocent girl. But it's also about a different kind of power, the power of a father's love to seek truth when everyone else looked away. The power of evidence that speaks for itself. The power of 12 citizens to say, no more. No more buried cases. No more protected criminals. No more corruption masquerading as justice. He pointed to the defendants. These men thought they were untouchable. They were wrong, because Aurora Taylor's father refused to let them win. And now, you have the power to finish what he started. To give Aurora the justice she deserves. To tell Haven Creek and every corrupt official in this state that some crimes can't be buried, no matter how deep you dig. Marcus sat in the gallery, watching the jury. Several were crying. Others looked angry. All of them looked convinced. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. When they returned, the forewoman, a schoolteacher from a neighboring county, read the verdicts. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find Derek Burgess guilty. The courtroom erupted. Marcus closed his eyes, breathed for what felt like the first time in months. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find Randy Woodward guilty. On the charge of accessory to murder, we find Austin Donnelly guilty. On the charge of RICO conspiracy, we find Dennis Burgess guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice, we find Dennis Burgess guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. 18 counts, 18 convictions. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks. The defendants were remanded to custody. As they were led away, Derek looked at Marcus one last time, broken, destroyed, comprehending that his life was over. Marcus felt no triumph, no satisfaction, just emptiness. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. Marcus gave a single statement. Justice has been served for Aurora Taylor. I hope other families never have to fight this hard for what should be automatic. Thank you. Jim Ray found him in the parking lot. You did it. You actually did it. Aurora did it. She fought back hard enough to leave evidence. She was brave enough to say no to power. This is her victory. That night, Marcus visited Aurora's grave. He knelt in the grass, touched her headstone. Their convicted baby girl. Every one of them. Derek's going away for life. The mayor, too. They'll never hurt anyone else. The wind rustled through the trees. Marcus imagined it was her response. I know, Dad. I was there. I wish you were here for real. I wish I could have protected you. I wish, his voice broke. I wish I had one more day, one more conversation, one more chance to tell you how proud I am. The tears came then, finally. Not tears of rage or frustration, but grief. Pure, overwhelming grief for everything lost. Marcus cried in the darkness, alone, until there was nothing left. When he stood, his phone showed 17 missed calls. Reporters, lawyers, victim advocates. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. But Marcus had given enough. He drove home, poured a drink, sat in Aurora's room. Tomorrow would bring sentencing hearings, legal motions, media analysis. Tonight, he just wanted to remember his daughter as she was brilliant, funny, stubborn, kind. A girl who deserved better than this world gave her. A girl he'd move heaven and earth to avenge. A girl he'd never stop missing. Chapter 8. Sentencing and Secrets. The sentencing hearing began on day 97. Judge Terry Walls, brought in from the federal circuit, had a reputation for harsh sentences in corruption cases. Marcus allowed himself cautious hope. Derek Burgess went first. His attorney argued for leniency. Young age, substance abuse, corrupting influence of his father. Nancy Burgess testified, heartbroken, asking for mercy. Character witnesses painted him as a victim of circumstance. Then it was Marcus's turn. Your Honor, my daughter Aurora was 17 years old. She had straight A's. She volunteered at the animal shelter. She wanted to save endangered ocean species. She was kind, brave, and had her whole life ahead of her. Marcus's voice was steady. Dara Burgess took all of that away because she said no. He beat her to death, dumped her body, and never showed remorse until he was caught. A life sentence isn't justice. It's a starting point. The judge reviewed Aurora's photo, the crime scene photos, Derek's confession. Mr. Burgess, you have been convicted of first-degree murder with aggravating circumstances. The sentence is life imprisonment without possibility of parole. You will spend the remainder of your natural life in the Wyoming State Penitentiary. You will never again see freedom. May God have mercy on your soul, because this court has none. Nancy Burgess collapsed, sobbing. Derek stood motionless, the reality sinking in. Life without parole. No appeals would change that. The evidence was overwhelming. Randy Woodward received 25 years. Austin Donnelly got 15. Both eligible for parole eventually, but their youth was gone. Then came the main event, Mayor Dennis Burgess. The prosecution asked for maximum sentencing on all 18 counts, served consecutively. The defense argued for concurrent sentences, credit for time served, leniency for a first-time offender, legally speaking, despite decades of corruption. Judge Walls wasn't buying it. Mr. Burgess, you weren't just a corrupt politician. You were a crime boss who used public office as cover for racketeering. You stole millions from taxpayers. You dealt drugs through shell operations. And when your son committed murder, you weaponized the criminal justice system to protect him. You corrupted police, medical examiners, and public records. You obstructed justice at every level. Your crimes weren't aberrations. They were a way of life. The judge sentenced the mayor to 42 years in federal prison, consecutive sentences, no parole eligibility for 35 years. At 63 years old, Dennis Burgess would die in prison. As marshals led him away, the mayor turned to Marcus. This isn't over, Taylor. You think you won? You destroyed my family, my legacy. I hope it was worth it. Marcus met his eyes. My daughter was worth everything. After the hearing, Prosecutor Doherty pulled Marcus aside. There's something you should know. During discovery, we found evidence of another victim. Marcus's stomach dropped. What? 5 years ago, a girl named Carrie Schneider from neighboring county went missing after a party. Never found. The case went cold. We found records of Derek's car being serviced the next day, extensive interior cleaning. Cell phone records put him in the area that night. We think he killed before. Marcus's hands clenched, and the mayor covered that up too. We're reopening the investigation. The family deserves answers. But Marcus, if you hadn't fought back, Derek would have kept killing. You saved lives by stopping him. It didn't feel like salvation. It felt like arriving too late. That night, Marcus met with Carrie Schneider's father, William Grimes. No relation to the police chief. William was broken, hollowed out by 5 years of not knowing. Did he kill my daughter? William asked, desperate. I don't know, but we'll find out. I promise you that. Marcus gripped his shoulder, and if he did, he'll answer for it. He's already in prison for life. Adding another murder charge won't change his sentence, but it'll give you truth. Closure. That's all I want. Just to know. To bury her properly. Marcus understood perfectly. Over the next month, investigators excavated properties connected to Burgess Construction. On day 112, they found remains. Dental records confirmed Carrie Schneider. Derek was charged with a second murder. He pled guilty in exchange for revealing the burial location, avoiding a trial that would traumatize another family with brutal details. The Schneider family held a funeral. Marcus attended, standing in the back, watching another father grieve, watching another family get justice, however cold and delayed. After the service, William approached him. Thank you for not giving up, for showing me someone gave a damn. I'm sorry it took so long. So am I. But at least Carrie's home now. Marcus thought about that. Home. Where was Aurora's home now? A cemetery plot? Heaven, if such places existed. His memories? Wherever she was, Marcus hoped she was at peace. Hoped she understood that everything he'd done was for her. Hoped she forgave him for the laws he'd broken, the lines he'd crossed. On day 120, Jim Ray knocked on Marcus's door. Got something for you. Inside was a letter, handwritten, from Chief Grimes. The former police chief had taken a plea deal, 3 years in federal prison for obstruction of justice, testifying against the mayor. But the letter wasn't about the case. Marcus, I know you'll never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either. I let my cowardice, my fear of the mayor's power, override my duty to Aurora. I'll live with that shame forever. But I want you to know something. After Aurora died, after I helped bury the case, I couldn't sleep. Every night, I saw her face. My daughter Rachel noticed, asked what was wrong. I couldn't tell her the truth, that her father was a coward who let a murderer go free. Then you started investigating. Part of me was terrified you'd expose me. Part of me was grateful someone finally gave a damn. Watching you fight, alone, against the entire corrupt system, it reminded me why I became a cop in the first place. To protect people, to serve justice. You gave me a chance to do the right thing, even though I didn't deserve it. I testified. I helped convict the mayor. It doesn't undo what I did, but it's something. My daughter knows the truth now. She's ashamed of me, but she also said she's proud I finally chose right over easy. That means everything. Aurora will be proud of you too. You never gave up. You never compromised. You showed this town what real integrity looks like. I'm sorry I failed her. I'm grateful you didn't. William Grimes. Marcus read the letter twice. Then he filed it away, not sure how he felt. Grimes had facilitated evil, then partially redeemed himself. Was partial redemption worth anything? Did intent matter when the damage was done? Aurora would say yes. She believed in second chances, growth, forgiveness. Marcus believed in consequences. Maybe they were both right. On day 130, Nancy Burgess visited Marcus one final time. My husband tried to hire someone to kill you, she said without preamble. From prison. Used his attorney as a go-between. I found out, reported it to federal authorities. The attorney's been arrested. Dennis got another 10 years added to his sentence. Marcus wasn't surprised. Thank you for the warning. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I'm tired of protecting monsters. Derek is my son, and I'll always love him, but he's a monster. Dennis is my husband, and he's worse. She looked broken. I'm divorcing him, donating everything to victim advocacy groups. Changing my name. Starting over. Good luck. Mr. Taylor, do you think it's possible? Starting over after something like this? Marcus thought about it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how to wake up every morning without my daughter. But I know staying still, letting guilt drown you, isn't the answer. Aurora would want us both to try. Nancy nodded, tears streaming. She sounded like an amazing girl. She was. She really was. After she left, Marcus sat alone with his thoughts. The trials were over. The convictions secured. The criminals punished. Everything he'd fought for had been achieved. So why did he still feel empty? The answer came at dawn, when he woke from another nightmare. Aurora calling for help. Marcus running, but never reaching her. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, understanding. Justice wasn't closure. Revenge wasn't peace. Winning wasn't healing. Those were separate journeys, and Marcus had only completed one. The others stretched ahead, long and uncertain. But at least now he could start walking. Chapter 9. Burial Ground. 6 months after the sentencing, Marcus stood at Aurora's grave on what would have been her 18th birthday. He brought her favorite flowers, purple tulips, and a college acceptance letter that had arrived 2 weeks after her death. Marine biology program at Scripps Institute. Full scholarship. You got in, baby girl. They wanted you. The whole world wanted you. He sat on the grass, back against her headstone, and talked. About the trial, the convictions, the closure that didn't feel like closure. About the nightmares that were slowly, incrementally getting less frequent. About the foundation he'd started in her name. Scholarships for students pursuing marine biology. Marcy Kane helped set it up. You'd like her. She's tough. Doesn't back down from power. Marcus smiled. Kind of like you. The Haven Creek Gazette had won a regional journalism award for Marcy's coverage of the corruption case. She'd gotten job offers from major newspapers, but stayed local, determined to keep holding officials accountable. Some crusades didn't end. Jim Ray got promoted. New police chief. He's cleaning house, fired every cop who looked the other way. Haven Creek might actually become a decent town again. Marcus paused. I'm thinking about leaving, though. Too many ghosts here. Maybe head to California. See the ocean you loved so much. Scatter some of your ashes where you dreamed of working. The wind rustled through flowers on nearby graves. Marcus closed his eyes, let the sun warm his face. His phone buzzed. Text from Lynn, his ex-wife, who'd returned for the trial and stuck around after. They'd been talking slowly, carefully. Not about reconciliation, too much damage, but about shared grief, co-parenting a ghost. Thinking about you today. About her. She'd be so proud of what you did. Marcus typed back. She'd be disappointed I broke so many laws. she'd understand why. Maybe Aurora had understood most things, the complexity of right and wrong, the difficulty of moral choices, the weight of consequences. "I miss you," Marcus said to the grave. "Every single day, I see teenagers and think, that should be you. I hear about college acceptances, career achievements, weddings, all the life you should have had, and I get so angry I can barely breathe." Therapy helped. Twice a week, Marcus talked to a counselor who specialized in traumatic loss. Slowly, he was learning that anger was acceptable. Grief had no timeline. Healing wasn't linear. The hardest part is forgiving myself for not being there, for not protecting you, for not seeing the danger. Marcus's voice cracked. "I've spent 12 years protecting strangers in war zones, but I couldn't protect my own daughter in a small Wyoming town. What kind of father does that make me?" A shadow fell across him. Marcus looked up to see an elderly woman, late 70s, placing flowers on a nearby grave. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "I'll move." "Stay. You're talking to your daughter?" "Yes. I talk to my husband every Sunday. Been doing it for 15 years since he passed." She smiled gently. "People think we're crazy, but I think grief requires conversation. The dead may not answer, but speaking to them keeps them alive. Does it get easier? No, but it gets different. The sharp edges dull. The constant pain becomes occasional aches. You learn to carry it." She studied him. "You're Marcus Taylor. I've been following your story. What you did for that girl, for your Aurora, it was remarkable. I just did what any father would do." "No, most fathers would have accepted the official story, buried their grief, moved on. You refused. You demanded truth when everyone told you to let go. That's rare." She touched his shoulder. "But son, I hope you're also letting yourself grieve. Not just fight. Grieve." After she left, Marcus thought about her words. He'd been so focused on justice that grief had taken a back seat. Now, with the trials over, the grief crashed in like a tidal wave. He cried at Aurora's grave until there were no more tears. Then he sat in silence, letting the wind carry memories. Aurora laughing, arguing, asking impossible questions, challenging his assumptions, being young and alive and full of possibility. "I'm going to be okay," Marcus told her. "Eventually, because you'd want me to be. You'd tell me to stop wallowing, get off my ass and live. You'd probably quote some philosopher or poet, make me feel unsophisticated." He smiled through tears. "You were always smarter than me." Before leaving, Marcus placed his hand on her headstone. "I love you, Aurora. Forever. Nothing changes that. Not time, not distance, not death. You're my daughter. My brilliant, stubborn, beautiful daughter. And I'm so damn proud of you." Driving home, Marcus passed the courthouse where the trials had occurred. The Burgess Empire was dismantled, properties seized, companies dissolved, legacy destroyed. Derek would die in prison. The mayor would die in prison. Randy and Austin would lose their youth to cells and regret. Justice had been served. But Marcus had learned something. Justice and peace were different things. You could have one without the other. Peace required forgiveness. Not of the criminals that didn't deserve it, but of himself. For not being omniscient. For not preventing the unpreventable. For being human. Aurora would forgive him. She'd tell him that fathers can't stop every danger, control every outcome, save their children from the world's cruelty. She'd tell him he did his best, that his best was enough. Marcus wasn't sure he believed it yet, but he was trying. At home, he found a package on his porch. Inside, a handmade quilt from Aurora's volleyball team, each square embroidered with memories. "She taught us to fight for every point, one square read. She made us laugh," said another. "She was our friend." Marcus spread the quilt on Aurora's bed, ran his fingers over the stitching. This was legacy, not courtroom victories or prison sentences, but human connections, lives touched, love shared. Aurora's real burial ground wasn't the cemetery. It was in the hearts of everyone who'd known her, loved her, missed her. Marcus lay down on her bed, wrapped himself in the quilt, closed his eyes. For the first time in 6 months, he didn't have nightmares. He dreamed of Aurora, alive and laughing, running on a beach toward an endless ocean. She turned back once, smiled, waved. Then she ran into the waves, and the sea embraced her like coming home. When Marcus woke, morning light streamed through the window. He felt not happy, not healed, but something close to peace. He had a daughter once. She was extraordinary. She was loved. She mattered. Men tried to erase her, bury her, make her disappear. But Marcus had ensured the opposite. Aurora's name would be remembered. Her story would be told. Her justice would inspire others to fight when systems failed. She wanted to save endangered species. In a way, she'd save her father from drowning in grief, save Carrie Schneider's family from eternal not knowing, save future victims from Derek's violence. Her death had meaning, even if it never should have happened. Marcus stood, folded the quilt carefully, placed it in a hope chest at the foot of Aurora's bed. Then he walked to his kitchen, made coffee, opened his laptop. Time to finalize the scholarship foundation. Time to plan his move to California. Time to scatter Aurora's ashes in the ocean she'd loved. Time to live because she couldn't. Outside, birds sang. The sun rose. The world continued, indifferent to human suffering, beautiful despite it. Marcus took a deep breath, held it, released. "Okay, Aurora," he said to the empty house. "I'm ready. Let's see what comes next." Somewhere, in memory or heaven or the spaces between heartbeats, his daughter smiled. And Marcus walked forward into whatever future remained, carrying her with him. Always. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.